The Unified Patent Court is going to mean big changes for intellectual property throughout Europe. But according to our next guest here at IPBC Global 2016, that change is no greater than for small and medium enterprises. What's the small business view of the changes that we're about to see in the European patent system?
From the small business perspective, the changes are coming from a situation where basically the patent system was not existent for small companies. So there are different degrees of small companies, so from very small company from 10 employees up to 1,000 employees. But patents were seen in Europe as something very expensive, fragmented and non-harmonized. So it was not an option, so patents was not in the culture of European companies. Small companies. But now with a new system in place that will provide harmonization and a global European touch, I believe that this is going to be a situation where SMEs will see the patent system as much more productive and aligned with the business interest. So I am forecasting to see a lot of action here from European SMEs companies. I will see the patent system as something that can benefit their own business.
Spain, obviously where we are having this conversation, is the odd one out when it comes to the European Patent Court, largely because of the political issues still here. How do you see this pan out, and what happens if, for whatever reason, Spain doesn't join the UPC?
From my perspective and from the perspective of many companies that I talk, also small companies, that decision was a mistake made by the Spanish government. So I think that there was too much tension on the language issue. So to put the Spanish language in the center of the discussion together with the German and the UK accent, while the number of patents that are being filed in Spain are not so big, so the level of pressure was not consistent with the reality. There was an expectation, I believe, that Italy will not be joining the system because of the language issues as well, but finally Italy has decided to join. So I think that the position of Spain is not sustainable. And as soon as we have government, because today Spain does not have government, my perspective is that the situation is going to solve. So I don't see in the long term Spain being outside of the UPC system. I don't see that.
I assume it couldn't afford to stay out.
I think that's the point. So at the end, there is going to be a lot of... so patents are not in the center of the discussion for companies in Spain, big or small, that's true. But so that's the reason why there has not been paying too much attention to that situation at the industry level. But when the industry will see that there is a system which is evolving with Europe as a whole, and Spain is not there, I'm sure that the industry and the R&D system in Spain will get more organized, will raise the voice, and will say to the Spanish politicians that Spain cannot afford to be out of the system. This is something that I am pretty optimistic that this is going to change very soon. I think that the unitary patent in Europe will create an environment that can replicate a little bit the environment in the US in the early 80s with the creation of the federal circuit as a whole. That led to an increase of the patent applications, of the growth of the companies in the Silicon Valley. So I tend to see, as an entrepreneur that I am, I tend to see the things with some optimism and some opportunities. So I see Europe provided that the UPC becomes in place, in conjunction with other activities that are done at the European level, such as supporting the entrepreneurs and the startups, that we can see a lot of traction and looking at in the innovation side, and looking at the patents as one more element, but it's an element that's something that is needed in order to help all this ecosystem to work very well. So I am very optimistic that UPC will be in place, and that will represent a tremendous the catalyzation of the changes that Europe needs to become a truly innovation country with rich of technologies and small and medium-sized companies being successful in the global marketplace.